You know that feeling, right? It's one of those days. You start out totally on fire, just crushing your to-do list. But then 3 p.m. hits, and your brain just feels fried, completely out of gas. Well, you're not just imagining it. Turns out there's some real science behind why this happens, and more importantly, a science to how you can recharge.
And listen, this isn't just you. It's a huge thing. Scientists, like in this 2022 review, are actually calling it a human energy crisis. They point to our modern, always-on culture. With the constant emails, the long hours, it's just relentlessly draining our ability to get things done.
So this really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Why? Why does your brain feel completely drained by 3 p.m.? Why does your focus just disappear right when you need it the most? Well, to get to the bottom of that, we've got to look at a really popular and kind of controversial theory about the tired mind. All right, so let's dive into this popular theory of the tired mind. It's called ego depletion. Now, that's just the fancy scientific name for that feeling of being totally mentally spent. And the basic idea behind it, it's actually pretty simple.
Okay, so here's the core idea. The theory of ego depletion basically says your willpower is like a muscle. Seriously. Every single time you use it, like when you force yourself to focus on a boring report, or resist that extra donut, or make a tough call, you're flexing that mental muscle. And what happens when you overwork a muscle? Exactly, it gets tired.
And the experiment they used to first test this is just classic. Picture this, it's 1998, and you walk into a lab that smells absolutely amazing, like fresh-baked chocolate chip cookies. But there's a catch. If you're in Group A, you're told, nope, no cookies for you, have some radishes instead. Seriously. Meanwhile, Group B gets to eat the cookies. Then, after all that, they give both groups a super difficult, actually unsolvable, puzzle to work on.
And the result? It was wild. The poor radish group, the ones who had to use all their mental energy not eating those delicious cookies, they gave up on the puzzle way, way faster. We're talking not even close.
So the conclusion seemed pretty obvious, right? The radish group had basically burned through their limited tank of willpower just by resisting the cookies. That meant they had less mental fuel left to deal with the next frustrating task. Okay, so that sounds a little bleak, doesn't it? Like we're all just doomed to run out of brain power? But hang on. If our mental energy really is a limited resource, then the big question is, how do we fill the tank back up? And that, my friends, brings us to the power of micro breaks. This is an actual evidence-based solution for that mental fatigue.
And this isn't just some feel-good idea. We're talking about hard data from a massive meta-analysis. That's basically a study of other studies. And this one included, get this, over 2,300 people. So when we talk about the effect of short breaks, the science is really solid.
So what exactly is a micro break? Let's be super clear. We're not talking about your lunch hour. A micro break is just a quick pause, a short little break from your task that lasts 10 minutes or less. It's that brief, intentional moment where you just stop.
And what do these little breaks do for us? Well, the results are pretty amazing. The data shows that micro breaks have a huge impact on our well-being. You can see it right here. Vigor, which is basically your energy and enthusiasm, goes way up, and fatigue, it goes way down. It's a total win-win for your brain.
So, the takeaway is just crystal clear. The data shows that even taking a few minutes to pause consistently boosts our energy and helps us feel way less exhausted. When it comes to just feeling good and having energy, these short breaks are an absolute game changer. Okay, so we feel better. That's awesome. But let's be real, we also want to work better, right? And that leads us to the big performance puzzle. Do these breaks actually make us better at our jobs? This is really the million-dollar question, isn't it? Does feeling more energized automatically translate to performing better? You'd think so, but the science here is actually a little more complicated, a bit more nuanced. So here's what the research found. For those really tough, brain-draining tasks, deep analytical work, a tiny break didn't really seem to move the needle on performance. It seems like recovering from that kind of work might just take more than 10 minutes. But for more routine clerical work or even creative tasks, they found a small but definitely significant boost. So it really depends on the kind of work you're pausing from. Okay, so we know breaks help us feel better, but why? What's actually going on inside our bodies when we step away for 5 minutes? To get that, we need to look at the biology behind the break, your body's own personal rest mode. The easiest way to think about this is like your body has a gas pedal and a brake. The sympathetic nervous system, that's your gas pedal. It's your fight or flight mode, flooring it when you're stressed or focused. Then you've got the parasympathetic system. That's your brake. It's the rest and digest mode, and its whole job is to slow you down, repair, and recharge the batteries. So when you take that micro break, you are literally hitting the brakes. You're activating that parasympathetic rest mode. And what does it do? It gets right to work. It actually lowers your heart rate. It constricts your pupils to cut down on all that stimulation. It helps with digestion. It's actively, physically shifting your entire body out of stress mode and into recharge mode.
All right, so let's tie all of this together and rethink our workday. What does this all mean for us? Well, it seems it's not just about grinding harder. It's really about recovering smarter.
Now, before we wrap up, there's a really important piece of scientific honesty we need to talk about. Remember that ego depletion theory we started with? The whole willpower as a muscle idea? Well, it's actually part of a huge ongoing debate in science right now. A lot of recent studies have had trouble getting the same results, so the theory itself is pretty controversial.
But here's the most important part. While scientists are duking it out over why we get mentally tired, the evidence for the solution is rock solid. That huge 2022 meta-analysis we talked about, it is absolutely clear. The data overwhelmingly supports the fact that micro breaks are fantastic for our well-being.
So look, here's the bottom line. It doesn't really matter if ego depletion is the perfect explanation or not. The crucial point is this. The benefit of taking short breaks for your energy and your mood is scientifically solid. Full stop. Taking a pause makes you feel better.
And that really leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? We're all taught to just power through, that productivity is about grinding it out. But what if that's all wrong? What if true productivity isn't about powering through at all, but about pausing intelligently?